Hi all, Michael here from Form Kitchens. Thank you to everyone for taking the time today to join our webinar around installation. We're super fortunate today to be joined by Charlie, who works at Form Kitchens. He heads up our customer and install success team. And we're also joined by Bar, who is one of our featured installers in the Bay Area. Today is really about getting your questions answered. So please use the Q&A or the chat functionality at the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit any questions you might have around the installation of Form cabinetry. But we're really excited to have you join today. And at the end of the call, we will be emailing out a recording of this webinar. And it's also another great opportunity to ask any follow-on questions that you maybe didn't get answered today during this session. But before we get into the Q&A, I do just want to turn it over to Charlie and Bar for quick introductions, and then we'll start rolling into customer questions. Charlie.
Hey everyone, my name's Charlie. Like Michael said, I run the customer success team here at Form. Our team's really responsible for kind of process post balance paid. So we help you understand when your stuff's coming, work with your installers to make sure everyone has a plan for installation and things go smoothly. And we'll be here along the way to celebrate with you or kind of help with any bumps and bruises to make sure we land your Form project in a great place. So work with people like Bar to make sure that we can really link arms and just kind of you have everyone in your corner to make your project look perfect. So yeah, Bar, why don't you introduce yourself as well here?
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Bar. I'm based here in the Bay Area in San Francisco. My company is Barcci Builders. We work very closely with Form cabinet for all of our high-end project. Customer really loves to shop with Form, and we are on the technician side managing everything with Charlie in regards to all of the installation and yeah, basically.
Great. Well, thanks for joining. We actually have our first question coming through. Charlie, I'll kick this one to you. How should I prepare my space?
Great question. I mean, preparing your space can look like a few different things. The way the process works is we'll take measurements from you and put it in our system, and we plan around the information you give us. So first, just having a clear understanding of the vision of your space, as well as the space that exists now, right? That's that first step. So working with an installer like Bar to kind of understand the measurements and bringing in a professional right away really can help make sure your project is a success. Going from there, we'll need a clean and clear space, but the biggest thing that I want to anchor into here is making sure there's proper structure in the wall and working with your electricians to provide power for any of the amazing accessories that we offer here at Form, right? So that's a big part of that process. So making sure that the walls have sufficient blocking and structure to hang the cabinets and things like that, that's pre-work that needs to be done in advance and can honestly be done at any time. But it's really just about making sure that everything is inside the walls to safely install these cabinets. That's the biggest thing we talk about. We also work in areas like San Francisco and New York where there's older homes, and understanding the levelness of floors and things like that help people like Bar do their job and to the highest quality. So anything you can tell us about the space in terms of its unique nature, and then also just making sure that your walls are prepared, that helps us a ton. And we actually provide blocking documents and things like that. We're able to hop on calls to talk through the electrical needs and work with your trades to kind of remove you from that project management. But when you work with someone like Bar, we don't even need to have those conversations. Bar goes directly to me and makes sure we're on the same page. So it's ideally you're not doing much because you've got someone like Bar in your corner. But hopefully that answers the question.
Amazing. A follow-on, Bar, I'll send this one to you. How does the installation of Form cabinets compare to other medium or high-end cabinets? Is there anything that's different, harder, easier? Yeah, how would you compare Form's installation?
Totally. So the way we like to work with Form among other brands is that whenever we're working with Form, the customer and us, we receive in a full package more than sometimes 20, 30 pages explaining each individual cabinet and its location, along with the installation instruction for each cabinet. So we know exactly where the specific pullouts is going to be located. Everything makes a lot of sense since the design process takes a big part of designing the kitchen, and all of those answer throughout the design and the installation. For us, it's super easy to work with those kind of installation with foam compared to other brand where we don't get as much detail about the cabinet. We get like one page compared to all the different elevations of the kitchen. So it makes our job a lot easier. Everyone knows exactly how and where each cabinet goes.
Great. And then, one thing that is somewhat different about Form is the cabinetry does come pre-assembled. Does that help speed up installation time? What's it like working with a pre-assembled cabinet?
Totally. So whenever the cabinets are ready for delivery, we always coordinate with the Form team whenever we would need them. So they don't just ship it and it sits in the job site. They coordinate with us whenever the site is ready to receive the cabinet. And yeah, the fact that the cabinets arrive already assembled for us just to open up the box, since every box protected, every cabinet comes protected. So it's not like everyone, all the cabinets are just shipped to the job site. So every one of them is getting protected and they're delivered to the site for us to basically get the smoothest installation possible.
Great. Charlie, I'll send this one over to you. This is a question around, Form's cabinets are European. They are manufactured in Germany. Is there anything customers need to know about European cabinets with American appliances?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, so like Michael said, we do provide cabinets that are a different dimension than American sizes. The standard European base unit is going to be 22 inches deep. Now, we've already solved for that by sending all the proper brackets and adapters to make sure that these fit on site. That's already been thought through, and it's just as simple as, in most cases, putting in the factory provided spacers to bring these cabinets off the wall the 2 inches to make them fit. And sometimes there's a concern, oh, I've lost 2 inches, but the reality is having them off the wall actually provides an opportunity to install them in a much more tight and perfectly straight fashion. We're not grabbing what's going on the wall, you're pulling them off, and it just allows for a much more detailed installation. And frankly, there's usually a way to work in any appliance or any sink into these cabinets, and we're really resourced by a factory that not only understands this and provides us these adapters, but they also take the opportunity before the order is shipped to you to review the order, look at the appliances, make sure that not only does this work in theory on our end, but they'll confirm it from their factory technical team. There's a review process that is put in place to make sure that when this hits you, this works as everyone imagined it, right? So that's an amazing service that really kind of helps us make these things happen from a remote position like we do, direct to the consumer. Bar, I don't know if that answers it from your perspective from the installer, but it's we really don't have an issue with it. As long as we know what appliances you're working with, we can make it work.
Yeah.
Great. Charlie, another one for you. And then I've got one for Bar, but this one is around damages. So how quickly can the Form team turn around damaged cabinet components, or how do you deal with these instances when they come up on site? Yep. And relative to the installer as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. Hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm answering like a politician, but damages do happen. We work with trusted delivery vendors all across the United States. We put a lot of time into making sure that we work with people who are capable of handling our products safely and confidently. That being said, someone didn't get enough sleep, bumps into your cabinet, puts a scratch on it, things happen. But we're here, myself and our team, to be available to answer these calls, look at the images and work with customers to understand the implications, put a plan in place to make sure that any other vendors or any other materials on site don't get delayed because of us. Cabinets have 5 sides in these cases, and oftentimes it's something that gets hidden, and we work with you to understand the implications there. But if something needs to be replaced, we don't blink an eye, we get it sent back out. So doors and smaller panels, we can usually get back on site, and then in just over a month or so, and that typically doesn't have much of an impact on anything else. Cabinets that need to be rebuilt, we do have to send them from Germany. There's no way around that, but we have an amazing logistics partner who works with us to find containers that are coming at a regular cadence to really actually improve that lead time. So the fact is, we do have to send things from Germany if they need to be reproduced and fall on a longer timeline. But what I will say to end this is, majority of the time we find a way around it without having to replace it. When you have installers like Bar who are comfortable working with the product, these people like Bar will work with it, find ways to modify it to make it work, find ways to fix it. Myself and my team, we have a large selection of the small parts that they would send from Germany to really not let that be the thing that slows things down. So we're constantly looking for ways to support projects and never let things fall. So hopefully that answers the question. But when you tell us, we jump on it right away and put a plan in place and communicate, and then follow through with you the whole way through until it's back on site. But we really don't see it. It's very rare that there's a terminal issue like that. It's something we can always work around.
Great. Bar, I got one for you. It's an interesting question. When a homeowner or a client is out there looking for good labor for their project, what are things they should consider? I mean, obviously having the technical skills to do it, but are there other things you should be asking your contractor when going out and looking for someone to do your project?
Great. I would say before hiring a contractor, make sure to do the due diligence. Depends on the state you're in. Make sure to check their license and all of the requirements that they have, to make sure that they have all the licenses in order, that there is not any complaints on their license, to make sure that they have a clean and good record in place. Depends again on which state you are. Check for references. Don't try to ask to speak with previous customers. This is something that it's very standard, and you should do the home finalize few contractors you want to work with to ask for references. Or the way that we like to do it sometimes is, even if we have a similar project to the one that they're currently looking for, is to bring them for a job site, actually show them how things are looking on site, so they can get a better feeling. They can talk with the homeowner, with our current customer, and that's usually the best way that we can recommend you to find a contractor for your remodeling. Because by the end of the day, you are dealing with expensive material, with the materials, and we want to make sure that the installation is not getting compromised.
Great answer. Thank you. Back to a more technical question, and Charlie, maybe we'll start with you. What's the best way to install Form's wall cabinets to be flush with tall cabinets, given the different depth?
Yeah, I mean, Bar, tell me if you think about it this way. I mean, it just depends on the design. Some cabinets are going to be designed and shipped ready to be flush with the adjacent panels and the tall cabinets. But like the question that's being asked, sometimes there's a situation where that cabinet needs to be pulled off the wall and be adjacent with the units around it. So we provide I think Bar touched on this earlier, but a really in-depth installation plan before this even hits your house. So we've already thought about those details and provided suggestions for you and your installer to review, to come up with a plan on site. We're not in the business of telling installers how to do every detail of the job, but what our job is to do to make sure everyone feels prepared to understand how to work with the product in their space. So oftentimes something like that could be as simple as suggesting a protrusion in the wall before the cabinetry arrives, which gives your installer the time to, while they're opening up the walls, installing blocking, also apply that protrusion to the studs or on top of the sheetrock. There's a million different ways you could do it, but our position is we like to send designs that are as least intrusive as possible. We want these to be attainable installations. We want to set your team up for success. We don't want to send you things that require you ripping down and moving walls. Sometimes we do need to have small walls built, but that shouldn't be too much for any GC on site who's preparing a space, because they should already be in that mindset, as long as this is part of the scope of work. But Another method is, we get creative with panels to support cabinets. So you can actually put a panel up as a shelf, slide the cabinet forward, and then attach it with neighboring units to bring it in line. And then you don't have to have that really intrusive walls being built, but it's, that's something definitely to talk about with your designer. There's, like I said, a number of different ways you could do it, and sharing that information with your designer helps them put together a plan with our technical team that is attainable based on what your wishes and how your team wants to work. Bar, I don't know if that captures how you feel on the installation side.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, the fact that we're receiving a full depth for the cabinet itself before receiving them gives us all the time that we need in order to make any modification for any wall that might need to get modified before the cabinet getting installed. So the fact we know when we can actually see all the different elevations and every cabinet layout and every cabinet specs gives us much better understanding of how everything should be plumbed to which wall. And yeah, that's super helpful to get all of those elevations and design plans from form, basically.
Great. Bar, I'll give this one to you. How long does it take to install a typical 10-foot by 10-foot kitchen?
Installation, let's say that the cabinets are already on site and drywall has been placed and everything is ready. Since the day of starting the installation, we should expect between 3 to 5 days for all of the different modification that comes after. All the leveling of each door, all the small touch-ups that require between 3 to 5 days.
Great. Charlie, this question may be good for you. Do you provide scribable filler strips to accommodate for construction variances?
Really good question. I think Bar, you and I were talking about this previously. It's, that's part of how we can make this work when we're not in your space, right? A good design factors in slight variables that we just might not know about and could have never known about. So yes, we provide scribable fillers. And usually apply those on the ends of run, just like any other design team would, to make sure that if your wall happens to crawl up 3/4 of an inch by the time it gets to the top, that's, Bar might be able to touch on this more, but like that's the difference between this looking like a lower end kitchen and what you see in the renders. It's those attention to details and the way we can make material fit perfectly and adapt to your space. Additionally, we will provide panels inside the run, any panel that touches a wall in the middle of runs. We've recently been making a change based on feedback to improve the experience, that we're going to add as much material as we can to two sides of those panels, so that we know if the wall needs scribing, you're actually going to have the opportunities to make that fit perfectly and levelly without doing too much adjustments to the adjacent units. So my goal with the customer success team and working with installers is to take that feedback and always make sure that we're always being thoughtful about, is our experience working for every member of this experience, in this case being the installer. We want people to be able to achieve that look that you paid for and send materials to do so. So yes. Short answer, yes.
And then related to that is, do you work with panel ready refrigerators, and how so?
Oh yeah, yes. So we can do panel ready refrigerators. It's a conversation to be had with your designer when you go through it. The only there's a lot of variables there in terms of flush installation, or an installation where the appliance is proud, or or an inset look. Those are conversations to be had with your installer to make sure that they understand what that vision is, and then we would work with the factory to make sure that we can supply those panels at the thickness that the appliance requires. There's rarely a situation where we can't. Our factory is really ready to handle all those situations. And like I said on the previous question, they will review those appliances and from a technical perspective, and make sure that they supply the correct type of panels for the appliances. So fridges, wine fridges, anything you put a panel on, dishwashers, we do all of that. So we can make that fully integrated look.
Bar, any tips or tricks you would add around paneled appliances or call out?
Like Charlie said, basically, whenever you guys are remodeling and working on the design package, sharing the appliances with form designers would always be a huge help for them to design the best door and the best panel for the specific of your appliance. Most of our projects are like a panel ready for the dishwasher, for the fridge. So yeah, like sharing those appliances with the designers are the way to do.
Great. Charlie, here's a technical question about base cabinets. Does Form have a base cabinet that can support the weight of an apron front or farmhouse sink? Or would a standard Form base need to be modified?
No, so don't quote me on the weight, but these cabinets are made to withstand substantial quartz countertops. We've seen people put really large pieces of quartz on top of these, and the factory provides us with those weight tolerances. I think it's 250 kilograms for 4 feet, but please don't quote me on this. It's in our quality guide that you can reach out to us and I'll provide it to you. But yes, so again, that's a situation where the best situation you can create for yourself is give that information to your designer up front. They might have suggestions on apron sinks that work better on some of these than others, just because there's that depth change, and they have experience with making sure that they guide homeowners to the right appliance for the project. That being said, as long as the cabinet is, we have the understanding of the width, that cabinet should be able to hold the weight of the sink, and we'll provide you with the right panels and everything to install it. Not a problem. Just worked on one the other day. Looks beautiful.
Does Form provide countertop materials?
Yes, we have some basic worktop materials that come from the factory, but in terms of, I think what's even more exciting is just our partnership with Caesarstone. It's an amazing countertop company to be partnered with, and it's just kind of in the spirit of this is a name in the countertop industry that we work with to support it. So, short answer, yes. The factory provided countertops will be more as in line with the materials of the panels in the front, so some composite products and things, but we can do a range of different things. So bar tops, different worktops for desks and things like that. That's a great application. A lot of our customers end up going with a company like Caesarstone for their quartz, which is really cool. So yeah.
Bar, how do you coordinate countertop materials for these projects? Do you work with a local fabricator? Is there a material you tend to like to work with?
Usually a local fabricator. Those are the store that sometimes sell the countertop if it's something custom, and they usually do the fabrication itself. So in case something happens to the countertop, you have only one person to go to. So the store that sells the countertop usually do the fabrication, and that's usually the best way to do it.
Great. And the questions keep coming. Charlie, do you ship the boxes with the doors and handle hardware applied, or does it get applied on site?
That's a good question. Depends on what the unit is. I think the best way to answer is, we can customize. It's almost limitless the way that we can customize these units to make them fit in kitchens. When we customize units, we then typically ask the installer to put the handles on. It's just from a factory process standpoint, it's inside baseball. But the short answer is, most of the time, we will provide you those handles installed before they arrive. We have a number of different types of handles options. There's the more kind of classic look and some of the bar and ledge pulls, but also, as you can see in the images behind myself and everyone else, I think actually in bars, there's an integrated kind of pull, like a J channel, and those get installed on site, but it's just a simple last step of putting it in place and just screwing it into the insides of the cabinet. So this product is, for the most part, assembled and ready to go. The installers will have to take the doors and drawers out and put them in, and then those final adjustments, like some appliance panels would need handles and things like that, or heavily customized units. But for the most part, we try to make sure that the factory handles as much of that for you, if that's your wishes, and then that hopefully is the reality and reduces that time for you guys to have to do it and getting it right. So.
Bar, what is it? It's a great question around measurements. How do you confirm field measurements for Form before cabinetry goes into production?
Right. So I would say the sensor can divide it into two. So it depends whether this is a new build space that we build completely from scratch, let's say on a new construction project. So we know that the framing is going to match because we're going to build it according to the architect's drawing. Whether it's only a remodeling, the best way to do it, if there is going to be any layout change or appliances relocation or any wall removals, is to get the measurements verified once again, once the wall and all the space got empty, so we can make sure from wall to wall without any interruptions in between. So that's usually the best way to get those measurements verified. Since the beginning, measure wall to wall, it's perfectly fine. Usually there is not any different before and after the demolition. But if we do, we're making sure to talk with your form designer to inform them. So in case they need to send any more fillers, they would know it about it ahead of time.
Great, thank you. And Charlie, what do our most customers typically do those verified measurements with our contractors before order? Or what's the best way to go about it?
I think it's a great way. I think if I was to suggest a way, the best way to do it, it would be to, when this part starts to become a reality for you, is to we have this featured installer network and people like Bar in it, and they're going to be the best person to come over and plan that work for you, because the person installing it is typically the best person to do that measurement work. That being said, there's a lot of, there's services out there that can provide that for you. Or if you have a trusted, someone in your family or someone who works in that industry can do it for you. It's not complicated. We just want to support you to make sure that it's accurate so that we work with the best set of information. But if it's a newer home and you're not doing anything crazy and invasive, pulling measuring tape and giving us that information shouldn't be too much of a lift for anyone who feels comfortable reading a measuring tape. But we know it's a concern or a worry, because that's like I said, the most important part. So we are always thinking about ways that we can provide better services for people to make sure that's accurate. But engaging with someone like Bar would be the best, because now they're going to think through just every next step to make sure that the information they give you is accurate for the work that's going to be done in this space. So hopefully that makes sense. But it's just as simple as telling us as much as you can about the room and giving us dimensions of every turn and corner and wall.
Amazing. Okay, we got one more question. I think this is a great way to wrap things up with 2 minutes left. And I'd love to hear from both of you on this one, which is, in this whole kitchen remodel renovation process, are there any common pitfalls I should know about before going into it, or things I could do in advance to just help the process be a little smoother?
Bar, do you have anything you want to say? I can go first otherwise.
You can go first, I'll go after.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really value communication. Our co-founders have really invested in the support end of this business, just because we want everyone to feel like there's always a voice to, shore up any confusion. We know that renovations are just stressful. It doesn't really matter who you work with. It'll probably feel stressful at some point. So our goal here is to just provide a support team to never leave you in a lurch. So communication is really what matters. Reach out to us with questions. Don't sit there and feel like you don't know what's going on and this is stressful. There's gonna be someone on the end of the line, probably me, who will help you understand what to do, how to plan, how to put things in place, what to do if it feels like things are going wrong. 99% of the time, if something feels like it's going wrong, you can reach out and we can find a solution and help you understand. Maybe it was just confusing. Maybe it was just the information wasn't as clear to you. So communicate, find an installer that you trust, a good installer also keeps the place clean and tidy and things like that. Like, those details really matter. So it's just about building that trust and communicating. That's what makes a successful project, any renovation, successful. I hope that kind of answers that question. But the other thing I'll say before I hand it over to Bar is, we do offer pre-installation calls, time to speak with us if you want to know more about or plan the work and include your installer on that call. Just read through what we're sending and take advantage of those opportunities. I think a lot of people find that can be the most helpful way to kick off the installation phase and go into it with a really, a sense of, confidence in that.
So I would say for my own experience, for the best and the smoothest project as possible is try to think about everything you can ahead of time before you actually break ground. In terms of design wise, I always recommend my customers to talk with the designers about their own lifestyle, whether they are hosting more or whether they need more storage than closed wall, whether they would compromise on an open space or whatever is important for them, because we don't want just to do the remodel, we want the remodel to make sense for year to come. So that's for me the most important thing. The one we actually recommend the most is to think through before you break ground and get all those information before and try to design the project to your own specific needs.
Great answer. Well, we're at time. I really appreciate everyone coming and asking so many thoughtful questions. Bar, I know you're incredibly busy, so thank you for taking time. And Charlie, same. We'll be sending a follow-up with this recording and Bar's information as well. We also have a whole featured installers page on our website, so you can find someone in your area as well. But if you have any other questions, please just respond directly to that email. We're here to help, but we look forward to exploring your project. And thank you again for all the time. Charlie, it seems like.
Yeah, formkitchens.com/install. There's a link on our homepage that's going to help you really dive into videos and how this works, because I can see a lot of really specific detailed questions in here. So for those who want to get into the nitty-gritty, that's a great resource. We have a huge library of FAQs and videos, so spent a lot of time putting that together. So I just wanted to shout that. I should have said it earlier. So
great. Well, thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
Guys.
Bye.